Alright, so yes, this is happening. I am making an impromptu discussion review on Mozilla Firefox's layout, UI, design. And this is what this video will be about. It's going to be very short, not too random, but random enough to get the point across. And so we'll just go ahead and get started here. So, in light of this right here, this hellish decision on their part, I have been speaking out against this disgusting mess that they've committed to for no good reason, that they've been doing, and now we're stuck here. We're just waiting. At the moment, I am running 53. So, as releases continue to release, supposedly extensions such as this guy, Classic Theme Restorer, are no longer going to work. Furthering down the line, eventually at some point, they're no longer going to accept it, nor will it ever be replaced. Meaning that the technology behind it that allowed it to begin with is no longer going to be supported. There is no porting that's going to happen for this, so that's it. It's over. The story's done. It had its reign and now it's over, and now Mozilla is essentially pulling the plug for a very silly reason. A reason I can't get behind, because as they explained it, or seem to explain it, they're trying to reach out for something called web extensions, which essentially will allow for extension / add-on compatibility across browsers, and also supposedly it'll make the browser faster in a way, or somehow they're going to change the architecture and how it runs, I guess. And quite honestly, I don't agree with that. I think that's wrong, because they're not taking into account for what they're sacrificing. And this is a big one, because down the line, people aren't going to be able to they're not going to be able to configure or code and manipulate with the UI. This stuff, this beautiful mastery. Look at how clean this is. Look at how clean this is. And I've argued for this thousands of times. I've told them thousands of times, why don't you let me have an option where I can drag the tabs bar below this content here? It's not intuitive and it's not natural for anyone to have the tabs on the top. What they're doing is what these guys are doing. Let me get them over here. This mess, this stupid smidget mess here, this is what they're trying to copy. And they've been doing that for a while now. And it's annoying me, because this is stupid. This is not natural. Where's the bar? Where I can't do anything with this. This is too simple. This is useless, as far as I'm concerned. I can't do anything. This is a browser for people who don't know how to use a browser. This used to be a browser for people who knew how to use a browser. You have related links that are important, that matter, here, because people want to use them. Because people use them. And that's why they're here. But they want to get rid of it. They want to get rid of simple things. They've already gotten rid of tabs not on top. I don't know why they got rid of that. I don't know what that was sacrificing, or what kind of impediment that was placing on the proficiency of the browser itself. But apparently Mozilla considered that as a completely, I don't know, some kind of poor design somehow, in some way. And yet it helped. It helped. This makes more sense than what Chrome's doing, than what the default Australis design for the UI is doing. It just makes more sense. It doesn't make sense to me to have tabs on the top. Why would anyone consider that as a good thing? Do you see where my cursor is? This is where my cursor is most of the time. This is where it's going to be. It's going to be on the content of the page. Why make me go all the way up here for a stupid tab? Why would I want to do that? Your UI isn't even following what Chrome is, per se. Unless they activate what I have here. Unless they activate the menu bar. Which is, why would you get rid of this? Why would you seclude all of the options into a button, into a secular space where people have to like navigate and just like, that doesn't make sense. That's a cluttered design. That's a cluttered space. That doesn't make sense. That's not usable. That's why people activate the menu bar. This is usable. This makes sense. Tabs not on top makes sense. People are gonna have their cursor here, not at the fucking. I don't understand why they think that they're justified in doing what they're doing, because they're not. It's ridiculous. This makes sense. Having a minimalistic design here makes sense. I don't mind the icons for Australis. They're minimal. Look, they're flat, they're simple, they're clean. I get it. They're nice, they're clean. But the UI itself sucks. The placement of the elements where the user can interact with the browser is critical towards the usability of the browser itself. You're ruining the browsing process by not allowing people to have a browser with a good UI. You used to be able to, well, the idea is that they would enable people to have what they want, to get that efficient design layout so that people can actually use it the way they want to use it. From my perspective, this is this makes as much sense. And a lot of you might not agree, I understand, but for those of you that do, for those of you who actually use CTR, I mean, you can understand my frustration with this. This is just, it's ridiculous. Tabs on top makes no sense. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, because you would think that they were into the design process for usability's sake, because they make changes that relatively give that impression, such as this guy or this guy. They changed this. They did. Yeah. So they made this better. It used to be where you had to click the little circle for a download. Nobody's gonna do that. Nobody wants to do that. That causes the user to be more precise, more accurate. So that puts more effort, and it frustrates the user. So just from a usability perspective, that never made sense. But they fixed that. They amended that. They made the block space for that bigger. So the hitbox, essentially, or the space that was allocated for that specific function to show the file location in the default File Explorer program, that space was allocated better, and that design tweak made the usability experience better. So it worked. So they do things that work, but they're not consistent. And they continue to tweak around with things that they don't need to tweak around with. Nobody told them to do what they're doing. Nobody told them that what they're doing is the right direction. I've been telling them, no, 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 you're wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. You're digging your own grave, essentially. Because nobody wants this. And I could get by with small, minor changes or additions to the default bar here, the toolbar here. They added a bookmark icon bundle, essentially, which is nice. It's convenient. It clutters the space, yes, but in this case the redundancy is convenient because I've been used to going to bookmarks and then just selecting bookmark this page. That's natural to me. It's been natural to me since I've been on this internet spree. But so it used to bug me, and I could remove it, sure, but it grew on me, just like how this hamburger button icon here grew on me because it provided something that was convenient. I like the new customization. I don't particularly like how small this region is here. I don't see why this is necessary at all. Nobody's gonna go here to click cut. Nobody's gonna go here to click copy, paste. So this redundancy is not needed at all from my perspective. This is something that's nicer, maybe more accessible than what some might consider inaccessible. But again, it grew on me and I didn't mind it because it was a minimal addition and it didn't change the overall usability. If anything, it added to it and made it better. But now we're stuck with something that plans on reducing that just because they don't want to let people touch the UI anymore. They don't want people to touch the interface. And I don't understand that. I can't stand by that. I can't stand that nobody is really fighting for it anymore. They're just giving up. And it's not like people haven't tried. People have tried, but I mean, they're not going to convince them. I know I'm not going to convince them, but I'm hoping that I do, to at least consider a change or something, or at least to let us change it from the browser natively. If they don't want to let people make extensions for it, then at the least what that they could do is let us do it from the configuration, of the browser itself. That to me would be something of convenience, that would be fair, and more importantly, that would be the right thing to do in their case, instead of just dropping the old extensions by the wayside and then not even considering anything for the people who had been coding using the now deprecated programming scheme, web extension scheme, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so that's basically my hitch here, and that's pretty much it. So this was my argument. I mean, it's just they seem to be on the ball at times, but then they drop the ball, and then sometimes they even make it worse. The location bar is another example, where they actually span the drop-down list across the screen. Nobody needed that. Nobody asked for that, and it's not better. It doesn't make it look. It might make it look a little better, but it doesn't. It doesn't provide any extra usability. It doesn't enhance the experience in any way. And if anything, it just degrades the experience, because now instead of only having to look at where the box element ends, I had to actually go all the way to the end of the window of the screen to read the URL, which is ridiculous because I never had to do that before. I just had to look, I just had to glance down, and that was it. Now I had to glance down and a bit to the left. And I know that makes me sound lazy, but just no. From a usability perspective, this is no. That's wrong. You're causing the user stress. You're causing the user to do more, and it's ridiculous. No sane heuristic person evaluating this would say, oh yeah, you're doing a good job, because you're not. And if they don't fix what they keep messing with, then I mean we're gonna have no choice but to move to another browser that actually follows with a non-Australis UI layout design, which in our case happens to be this guy. And I've actually been able to manipulate this to make it look very close to what I have on Firefox. It's not exactly the same, but hey, it's close enough. And look, tabs not on top. The UI is simple and clean. It looks a little weird here, but I mean I can get used to that. It's just the small tweaks that Mozilla Firefox will not commit to, that will not allow, that really bothers me, because they want to increase, I don't know, the way extensions work. But then that brings me to the old adage of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. These things were never broken. They say that by moving to web extensions, that they'll be able to increase the process somehow, of something related to the extensions and the developers. It'll make some processes faster, and in some way it'll make the browser better somehow, even though they're sacrificing a lot. And it's funny because they even try to sort of persuade people that it's okay that they're sacrificing UI customization, because at some point they're going to introduce full themes, and then was it minimal light themes, that do crap, that do nothing significant, and that probably make the browsing experience worse. So again, they're not giving us what we need, and instead they're sacrificing a lot for what they need, which I understand, but they're not meeting our needs, or at least attempting to reach a middle ground at all with this. They're just they're completely abandoning the process and the user base that use their browser for the very purpose that they're sacrificing. So, the very attributes, the functions, the abilities. And that's the end of my rant. So, at the end of the day, they've made tremendous stride. Obviously, they're one of the most popular browser packages out there, but if they're just gonna abandon a framework and then not make amends for it by at least allowing some sort of native function to replace what they're not gonna allow other people to create for, then that's just that doesn't make sense to me. I think that they could do better. And again, and if they don't decide to do that, then I'm just going to switch to Pale Moon, because I'm not going to use a browser that doesn't let me achieve a usability quota. I can't use something that won't let me use it. And that's the whole point. And that's the end of my rant.